everybody, and welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be talking about the current situation of a virus that is being spread around the internet. Now, you might be thinking, if you're older than, I would say 40, then you may not know what I'm talking about. But people right around my age know the virus that's been being spread around since May 6th. I think May 6th was when we started to talk about this, when people started talking about this. The virus that is being spread around is called the hantavirus. More specifically, the Andes virus. You might be thinking, hold on, what is the Andes virus? It's a type of hantavirus that is spread around by rodents in South America. Actually, it's spread around by rodents in South America, and it got to a Dutch ship, literally, owned by someone that's Dutch, and a rodent got onto that ship and spread hantavirus. Most likely, it may have contaminated the food over there. It may have contaminated the food, but I'm not sure about that because we do not have video footage, unfortunately. However, there was one video regarding a passenger that was stuck on that cruise ship because the cruise ship had an outbreak. I'll show you the full picture of the story. Diarrhea, coughing, chest pain, loss of appetite, and typically people who are only infectious while they have the symptoms. Typically, you could get the Andes virus as late as 42 days after exposure. And the cruise ship left, I believe either Argentina or Chile, on April 1st. So this took about 36 to about 37 days for these signs to appear. That's long. And this article does not mention this, but the mortality rate of the virus is 43%. That is the mortality rate. Now, I want to be realistic right here, right now. Do I think I will be affected by the hantavirus? Probably not, because I am not even close to a person or a group that has been exposed by one. Here's the thing, though. I would not be surprised if we were told to wear masks, specifically N95 masks. N95 masks are so expensive. I think everybody can agree on that. So, if you don't have an N95 mask, just wear a regular one. But, with that being said, I've told you that the mortality rate is 43%. Everybody is basically saying, around the internet, are basically saying that this is the next COVID. I think that's BS. You're thinking, hold on. If the hantavirus has a mortality rate of 43%, and the coronavirus had a mortality rate of 1 to 2%, does that mean that the hantavirus will be worse? No. And here is why. I think the hantavirus right now is kind of the second version, and let's say version 2 of the Ebola outbreak that we saw in West Africa during 2014 and 2015. Talking about the Ebola outbreak, it started in Guinea-Bissau and then it spread through Liberia and Sierra Leone. It then spread to Guinea, and it got spread to Mauritania, and then it got spread to America. Now, here's the thing though. A couple of people in the US have died due to Ebola. Now, Ebola was gone by June of 2016 because everybody got the Ebola vaccine. I want to be very clear. The Ebola virus had a mortality rate of, I think, somewhere between 70 to 80%. The hantavirus has a mortality rate of 43%, and the coronavirus has a mortality rate of 1 to 2%. Put this into perspective. Why are we comparing two unfair subjects? It's basically comparing a king to a noble. That's what we're comparing. The king, as in the Ebola, to a noble, which is the hantavirus. And then we're comparing the noble to a simple servant. So, we're comparing the noble, the hantavirus, to a servant, the coronavirus. I kind of find that bizarre. I think the closest thing that could replicate COVID is the Spanish flu, which existed from 1918 through 1921. It killed about 50 to 100 million people. but the population of the world was 1.8 billion back then. So it affected about 3 to 5% of the world's population. So it had a mortality rate of 3 to 5%. That basically states that the servant was now a bit of a lord. So you could say it's a lord now, that the Spanish flu is a lord. But I'm starting to see the symptoms of people recognizing that the hantavirus could be the Black Death. Do I agree on that? No, I do not. But do I disagree with that? No, I do not. Why? Well, it's because we don't know yet. But I am starting to see fear-mongering take place. This is exactly how we got Robespierre executed. This is how we got Hitler into power. That is how we let Stalin kill tens of millions in the USSR, because he implemented, quote-unquote, our policies, not your policies. Now, you might be thinking, everybody is so scared about the hantavirus. Why am I so scared if everybody else is scared? And that is why you never listen to news sources that always fearmonger. Because fearmongering makes things worse. So, as you can see, one article states, the World Health Organization says suspected hantavirus cluster is, quote-unquote, is not the start of a COVID pandemic. Basically implying the hantavirus has a very high mortality rate. So high that it can't spread as easily as COVID did. And note, COVID killed 7 million people, which is about 0.1 to about 0.08% of the entire world's population. So you gotta keep that in the context. Another article states, not the next COVID, World Health Organization on a hantavirus outbreak. So we got two sources that do agree on one another. Two sources being Yahoo and AOL. And we have another one that says, hantavirus outbreak on a cruise ship is, quote-unquote, not the next COVID, unquote, World Health Organization expert says. This is coming from CBS News 2. Not sure where this came from, but you could say that there are three sources that do agree that the hantavirus will not spread as easily as COVID would. I want to say to the people that always say, oh my god, this could be the next COVID 2.0. You're confusing sensationalization over realization. You're confusing yourself. So I'll put this in short terms. Sensationalization is looking for drama and entertainment. Realization is looking over and having a conscious, rational thought. Essentially, I'm going to dive that down a little bit. Conscious, rational thought is basically having a brain where you could think a lot longer than you should. Basically implying, go into great detail before saying something. Basically, fear-mongering is where you could basically believe that something's real, whereas it could be a panic, where everybody else could be panicked by that one source. So, everybody's been talking about this as being the next 2.0. That is sensationalization, but the realization is that there are articles that are basically saying this is not a start of a new variant or a new pandemic. It will not be the start, but it could happen. Could is the biggest word. Could. Meaning that it might happen, but the details are too little to be known. You might be thinking, those three news sources basically stated that the hantavirus will not be the next COVID 2.0, but then YouTubers are saying this will be the next COVID 2.0. So, why are the YouTubers talking about this being the next COVID 2.0, but health professionals saying, chill, this ain't gonna be big yet? I think it's because health officials are focusing on the realization part, whereas social media creators, particularly TikTokers and YouTubers, focus on the sensationalization part. When it comes to health and safety, always pick realization over sensationalization, because at least you're going to have a rational conscious thought over an immediate unconscious thought. You know what I mean? You want to have a rational, conscious thoughts when it comes to health and safety. Because health and safety matters. Like, for example, if you read a manual that basically has health and safety in the first page, I think most manuals will have that, you want to read it. You really do want to read it. You might be thinking, oh my god, this won't matter. Read it. Read it, read it, read it. Because you may not know everything that's in that page, but then if you flip it and then go into an activity that you may consider, and then you say, oh my god, I don't know how to do this, and then you burn your hands, and then you gotta go to the hospital for second-degree burns. I don't know how that happened. But you cannot have an irrational and an unconscious thought when it comes to health and safety, which is sensationalization. You need to have a rational, conscious thought, which is realization. So, this is not a battle, not just a battle between us and the hantavirus, but it's also a battle between having a rational, conscious thought and then having an irrational, unconscious thought. It's not unconscious, unconscious thought. Which I want to make pretty clear, both of those thoughts are completely fine. It's basically how you place them and how you use them, which I think is the problem for most humans. For me, though, I have a problem when it comes to sensationalization versus realization. Realization for me could get too quiet, but sensationalization could be too dramatic for me. You know what I mean? So before I let you guys go, I have a new shirt, and it has the World Cup. Woohoo! The World Cup is coming to here in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico in just 1 month. 1 month. The first match is going to be played on June 11th at 7 p.m. in Mexico City. If you got tickets, then I applaud you for that. If you don't, then I can understand what you mean, because tickets are very, very expensive. So there's just some bit of free advertising for FIFA, and I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I hope you subscribe to this channel in order to receive more content like this, and thanks to all of my subscribers for joining me in this journey, and as I hope to see you next time, cook out.